Hello guys, T2RX6 here, back for another third-party review, and today we're taking a look at the Iron Factory EX16 Pink Assassin. This is Iron Factory's take on a Legend Scale RC. This is on loan to me from my buddy and fellow co-host Robert D, who's a little bit of a Legends connoisseur, so to speak. And he's pretty much sent me almost all his Legends and said, hey, check them out. So big shout out to Robert for letting me borrow these guys. Their reviews are long overdue. And, you know, we're trying to get through them. So as you can see, she is very, very stylized. Obviously, those eyes are not like your G1 RC. It's very like a Transformers animated type feel, or maybe like even a Transformers Prime feel RC. I gotta say, like, the paintwork on her, like this like pearlescent white paint and like the blues and the grays, like everything is very cleanly applied. It's very nicely detailed. Iron Factory definitely makes a pretty good toy. I will say, if you're going for a standard Legends type scale, like with maybe like the Hybrid Prime, like I don't really feel this really fits in with the Hybrid Prime. Here she is with a, this is the DX9 cup, which I think is more like a traditional kind of like Legends cup. He looks very G1, not super stylized to look like an anime character. I don't know, I don't think that this is necessarily a better figure. This is the RC that came in the 2-pack with Cup. She's got her own issues, but she's at least more like G1 looking, but she's also huge. I mean, I know this is not her review, but she's taller than Cup. I don't know, that feels a little weird to me. So yeah, you have to like the stylized look, and I think if you're someone like Robert, I know these guys have all come with their own little minifigures, but for some reason, I just feel like this type of setup ends up looking pretty good, even with the quote-unquote deformed Metroplex. The stylized RC is pretty nice looking. I will say RC here is a little bit of an oddity because compared to the other Iron Factory things, at least as far as I'm aware, none of them have had this like anime look. Like I have the Overlord, and he's not like an animated look type thing, so I don't know. It's a weird direction that they took it, but ultimately I think it's successful, if not a little bit weird, because it doesn't fit with most of the other things in the line. She comes with this gun, and she comes with the 2 swords. The swords are very hard to peg into the back, but they do peg in. Just be careful when you're putting them in there. And she holds them just fine all the way down to the little hand guard there. Very nice. Let's talk articulation on her. Let's get this other sword off too, just so we can move it out of the way. Her head is on a ball joint here, plenty of range of motion out of it. The side to side I guess is a little more limited, but she still has some of it there. Ball jointed shoulder, and this is the type of thing that I don't think ball joints are a big deal, because a figure that's this small and weighs this little probably is not going to fall apart in time with a ball joint. Ball jointed elbow. Does she have a wrist swivel? It looks like she does, but I don't think so, and I'm not going to really try it too much because we don't want to snap a wrist of a toy that's not ours. I'll leave that for Robert to do. Coming down to the waist, it looks like she has one, but the car, yeah, she has like an ab crunch here, so you can get a swivel here, but you do have to move like the back of the car out of the way if you're going to make that pay off, which does make it easier to actually rotate the head. So I don't know, it's up to you if you use it a lot. It's there. Oops, we don't want to do that. That's transforming it. Want to keep that down. Yeah. So we want that centered. Coming down to the thighs here, ball jointed as you would expect. Plenty of range of motion there. A double jointed knee. It looks like when you're messing with it, it looks like this knee pad should kind of like freely float, but it doesn't. It's part of that double jointed knee. You can see the joint there. But it does help keep it in certain poses. The knee is still blocking that joint, and it looks a little bit nicer. And then coming down to the ankle, it's on its own ball joint down here, so plenty of range of motion out of her foot if you need it. Now she is Legends, and she does sport her own little high heels, and she stands just fine. Like, it's really not that hard to make her stand, but she also does come with this little stand set here, so you can get her in some pretty good poses, and you do that by plugging it into the little hole in her spine there. So let's go ahead and get RC transformed. Obviously she's not terribly difficult because she's small and she kind of turns into shapes. We're going to start by turning her head around, and we'll turn her arms so these little holes are facing upwards on both sides here. rotate this forward and rotate, well actually before we rotate them forward, rotate these little back fin pieces down and then rotate this forward. That should plug into her back here, and you can go ahead and clean up the arms just like so. From here we are going to use her gun, and we're going to just plug it into the spot where her flight stand would go and have that all closed up. Now the legs, they kind of fold up like this. It's kind of abstract, and fold the foot down, and then actually it's probably going to be easiest to do it this way. Let's go ahead and plug the gun into her feet. So we'll go ahead and actually just tilt it down like this. And the gun is needed to give some kind of stability to the back of the alt mode. So go ahead and bring this down now, and let's see. We'll have to kind of adjust the gun on the fly here. There we go. Plug that into there and kind of collapse this all down. It's certainly not the most elegant alt mode for RC. I mean, that's pretty well it. Like I said, it shapes more than it's anything else. You can take this and, whoops, put the handle side down, I believe is what the instructions told us to do. And then plug them in. And that's the alt mode. And from the front, I think it looks fine. From the back, it's a little, I don't know. They could have done something a little more interesting here, but given the confines of the Legends class, I think it's pretty acceptable. I don't know if this one necessarily does it all that much better. It's a little more authentic to the G1 alt mode, but the rear end falls apart pretty hardcore on this one too. Yeah, so it's not the worst alt mode, I'd say, but it's certainly not the best. It kind of feels a little bit like it's Legends' take on the MMC one, without the head just flying off, you know, at the first chance it gets. There we go. Had that foot was out of its place, but ultimately it really didn't change the overall look of the vehicle, now did it? So before we go back to her robot mode, one thing I do want to point out is that in this mode there is no piece here that you can end up plugging the flight stand in. Like, given how it works, like, she just kind of tilts back. She doesn't really ever sit like this. It would have been nice to have something that we could have plugged in somewhere, just so it could be like, you know, a futuristic like flying car or something like that. As it stands, I don't know. I mean, you're probably not buying this to put it in the alt mode here, but if you are a person who likes to have like your Generations Metroplex in city mode, this car just doesn't really work very well for it. Not without some kind of stand that we could have her like coming around the side of Metroplex or something like that, and you can't do it. That's a little disappointing. Anyway, let's get her back to her robot mode, which is terribly, terribly difficult. He said it as he lied. We'll go ahead and pop these apart here. Unfold the legs all the way. Straighten out the feet. You can go ahead and take the gun out, put them to the side for whenever you want them. Unplug the arms from this pink bit on the back on both sides. There we go. Unplug the back piece and fold it down. Just kind of open these up till they touch in the middle. We can make our life easier by tilting this away and rotating the head around, closing it back up, and then just straighten out the arms. Yeah, so overall this RC is pretty good. She's posable, she's fun. If you just want a fun RC on the shelf, I think she's probably worth the price. I don't think she's all that expensive. I think she's like 20 some bucks or something like that. If she's more than like 25, I'd say maybe 29 tops, I don't know if I would spend too much more for her. But I don't think she is, so I think she's pretty okay. Obviously you can get some Hasbro stuff for cheaper than that, but I mean, the paint on this is superior to a Hasbro toy. The transformation, I don't know, arguable. But at least there's no big hollows that you can see here. So overall, I think she's pretty good for the price. If you like the aesthetic and can see yourself having fun with her, you know, I say pick her up. She's not a bad legend at all. So this is T2RX6. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. And once again, big shout out to Robert D for letting me check out his legends. I'm sure we'll have some more to come in the following weeks. See you later.